You're watching Wave News at 11. I'm Alina Noakes. We begin with tragic news tonight. A woman has died after being run over by a vehicle involved in the Highlands St. Patrick's Parade. LMPD tells us it happened about an hour into the parade on the route on Bardstown Road near Grinstead Drive. The woman was participating in the parade, walking alongside one of the floats. Wave News reporter Meredith Lee spoke to those at the parade and has details on how it happened.
LMPD says the incident took place at this intersection just before 4 p.m. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, but were unable to save the woman's life. A celebration suddenly silenced. Video shared with Wave shows the moment emergency crews swarmed Bardstown Road and Grinstead Drive, right in the heart of the St. Patrick's Parade route. Thousands of people were lining these streets today, watching floats, listening to music, celebrating with their families. Most had no idea what had just happened nearby. LMPD says a woman believed to be in her 50s was walking alongside one of the floats when her foot got caught on it. She fell and was pulled underneath the vehicle. Bystanders and emergency crews rushed to help, but she later died from her injuries at the hospital. Her name has not been released. David Nyamba saw the commotion while working his family's food truck just across the street, his second year at this parade.
Then I seen the EMS, attending to somebody. Unfortunately, I saw somebody on a stretcher, not thinking it was something very serious.
The news hit him hard.
It does break my heart because that's a person that lost their life. This is not news that we want to hear, as human beings, as vendors, and as people, as party goers.
Stephanie Eustra has marched in this parade as a mascot for nearly 10 years. She'd finished her part of the route when she noticed floats behind her had stopped moving and learned something had gone terribly wrong.
My heart goes out to anyone who was in that block and all the people in that float and the family, and I can't imagine what they are all feeling.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg posted his condolences online, writing in part, quote, "Please join me and Rachel in keeping her family and friends in your prayers. May her memory be a blessing." LMPD's traffic unit is now handling the investigation. Those we spoke to say the incident raises concerns about safety at large public gatherings like parades and festivals, and what more can be done to prevent another tragedy like this. Meredith Lee, Wave News.